December the 15th is just around the corner, and you know what that means.
Pizza time.
Welcome to Marvelous Theory, a new channel for theories, news and reviews of Marvel and other film and TV media. My god, that's already a mouthful, we'll have to work on that. Today I'm going to share some theories, thoughts and a few fears I have for the up and coming Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm issuing a spoiler warning here, but I want you guys to know I haven't actually read any spoilers or leaks regarding this film, so this is all speculation. Oh, and if it isn't already obvious, this video has been made before I've seen the film. So I'll start with some theories. Actually, I'm just going to clear this up. I'm working on the assumption that Andrew Garfield and Maguire are 100% in this film, so that's not even a theory. It's a sure thing, just like that crypto you just invested in. Anyway, first theory. Venom will play little to no part in this film. I love the Tom Hardy Venom films. I'm that guy who asked you if you wanted to go see Venom, Let There Be Carnage on the opening night, an hour after the first trailer dropped. And I was okay with your rejection. The film's not for anyone. And you wanted to save cinema from millennials by seeing The Last Duel. That was really noble. But despite my love for Venom, I don't think it would be a smart idea to shoehorn him into this film. Least of all in the third act. Remember what happened last time Venom was thrown into an already villain-heavy third entry of a Spider-Man trilogy?
Hey, Parker. Ooh, my spider sense is tingling. If you know what I'm talking about.
Besides the obvious narrative shortcomings of doing this, financially and practically I don't think it makes a lot of sense. The third act alone is promising Holland, Fox, Dafoe, Molina, Thomas Hayden Church, Rhys Ifans and Cumberbatch. Not to mention Maguire and Garfield. This is expensive. When they say this is the endgame of Sony Spider-Man, you can see what they mean already. So throwing Hardy into the mix, it just gets too much. Scheduling becomes an issue. You'll need more VFX, as Venom is 100% that. The list of reasons go on, and you get the gist of it, okay? My theory is that whatever part, if any at all, Venom and Brock play in this will be limited to an extension of what he already shot for the Let There Be Carnage end credits scene. For my money, I reckon this was a late in the day add-in, a one-day shoot sort of a deal, and whatever more was shot will be revealed in this film. Probably at the end or post-credit scene. I mean, why set up Toxin if you have no intention of Venom returning to his own separate universe? For the same reason, I don't think we'll see Miles or any other Spider-Man besides Maguire or Garfield in this film. This is still Holland's Spider-Man film, and with two more Spider-Verse films around the corner, it would be unfair to drown his Peter Parker out in the climax of his own trilogy, least of all for the sake of cameos better served and earned later down the line. Quick side note too, I've got a video coming out soon on how they could expand the Venom universe and introduce Spider-Man to it, but not the Spider-Man you think. For more, you'll have to check that video out later. Theory 2. Stark Tech will redeem Doc Ock. So I called this the second I saw the nanotech absorption clip in the most recent No Way Home trailer. In case you don't remember, Dr. Otto Octavius' villainy...
What was your name again?
Dr. Otto Octavius.
was mostly due to the overwhelming control of his mechanized arms that occurred when the inhibitor chip used to keep them at bay was destroyed. At the end of Spider-Man 2, he in turn overcame their control and was able to save the day from himself and died in the process. My theory is that once he absorbs the nanotech from the Iron Spider suit, they will work to fix the arms and restore the inhibitor function that should have been in play, thereby resetting Octavius' control over them. Doc Ock seems way more chill in the later parts of the trailer, so I think there's a pretty high probability of this happening. Not to mention a brief clip we see of Sandman attacking Doc Ock. Theory 3. Electro's arc. In a similar vein to the previous theory, I think the start reactor we see on Fox's Electro will be used to store surplus energy that allows Max to have a more human appearance in this film. I really hope Jamie Foxx reins in his performance this time around. He was one of the worst parts of Amazing Spider-Man 2. Don't get me wrong, he's a brilliant and undeniably talented actor, but his Electro was all the wrong types of comic book villain. Between him and Arnie's Mr. Freeze, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a studio mandate for no more blue villains in superhero films. Garfield Spider-Man will save MJ. This is a theory I've seen the most traction for and arguably the most demand for. It would make sense narratively and the payoff for both the character and the audience would be huge. It would be foolish not to do this. Simple as that. Enough said. Final theory. Aunt May or Happy will die. We know it's coming. Someone has to die. And rightly so. It's been said for a while that this Spidey is missing one of the key ingredients vital to the Peter Parker mythology. Lost. We didn't see how things played out with Uncle Ben, which is probably for the better. We don't know if Parker was tangentially involved in his death or if it even occurred post-Spider-Bite. But since then, it seems the MCU Parker has gotten off pretty light in terms of consequences for his heroics. This looks set to change in this film, and with that in mind, thoughts soon turn to who is most likely to bite the bullet, or in this case, Pumpkin Bomb. It won't be MJ. Like I said before, Garfield's got you, girl. Similarly, I don't think it would be the right call to kill off Ned. I think most people are betting on it being May or Happy, and this makes the most sense for the story. Initially, I thought it was going to be Happy. When I first saw this shot, followed by this exploding car, I thought Happy's time was up, but we were meant to think that. Why else would they put it in the trailer? I mean, they digitally removed Spider-Man to keep that surprise, but then they essentially show Happy's death in the first trailer. Yeah, not likely. The same could be said for May's scenes. This pumpkin bomb goes off, but oh look, May's fine. She makes it. Well, actually, no. There's no tension in that, so why put it in the trailer? And we know from Spidey's suit that this sequence of events is probably in the third act, the most likely time for a gut-punching death. Now consider Happy's face in this scene, and the surrounding chaos, and oh my god, they're gonna do it. They're gonna kill the fit ant. And you know what? It makes kind of sense.
I am so confused right now.
And you know what? It kind of makes sense. Aunt May has arguably had even less to do in the MCU despite appearing in 3 films already. Stark and Happy took on the mentoring role for Peter in the previous films, meaning May got sidelined. A similar thing happened in the Raimi trilogy. By Spider-Man 3, May had very little to do. In fact, besides like 2 scenes, she wasn't really in it much at all. With Spidey now heading to college, it seems May would have even less of a presence in Peter's future. It could be said that her death would have more of an impact in shaping and influencing Peter than any future heart-to-heart scenes would, especially if putting them in would hurt the pacing of these future films. This doesn't mean I'm ruling out Happy dying either, by the way. Considering how busy Favreau is making The Mandalorian and other projects, I seriously doubt how available he would be for much future involvement in these films. However, with Tony's death still fresh in the minds of fans and characters alike, I think killing Happy, and by extension killing another part of Tony's world, would be too soon. Besides, I feel like Happy's uncle-like role to Morgan Stark will be an important part of her story should they decide to do anything with her character in the future. Maybe this death, be it May or Happy, will lead to Peter accepting that he cannot be Spider-Man without putting his loved ones in danger, mask or no mask. Maybe this will be the catalyst for him to ask Strange to do the memory wipe spell again, but this time with no exceptions. Fears. I don't want to dwell on this too much. The only thing I enjoy being negative for is COVID. The video's nearly done, don't quit on me now. But from the admittedly little we've seen of Doctor Strange's depiction in this film, I've got to say I'm kind of worried about what they're doing with him here already. I was not enamoured by Strange in his first solo film. Visually it was stunning, but character-wise I found him to be quite grating. And sure, he was written to be that way, so it wasn't a failure on the writers or Cumberbatch's part. But by the end of it, I still wasn't vibing him. Then Infinity War came along, and suddenly off the back of that film alone, Strange shot up in my estimations. That carried forward into Endgame. He's only in it for 4 minutes, so, you know. The What If episodes with him bolstered this newfound love for the character even further. And then the trailers for No Way Home dropped. Everything about him we've seen so far just seems really off. From his hair...
That feels weird, but I'll allow it.
...to that Scooby-Doo line...
Scooby-Doo this crap!
...to... I mean, just look at the way he says Spider-Man in this one scene.
Where you wanted everyone to forget the Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Am I the only one who's really put off by this delivery? It just hits me weird. I hope it's down to editing. Maybe this take won't even be in the film, but still, the fear is here, man. And no, I don't buy the Mephisto theory. We've already got like 5 villains in this film. Do we really need another secret one? With the multiverse of madness around the corner, and the growing sense that Strange will be the linchpin of this phase of the MCU, there's no time more vital to nail his characterization down. Let's hope they manage it. Thoughts? Though this film is being touted as the end of a trilogy of Spider-Man films, the reality is that this is the finale of a 6-film stretch of Peter Parker Spider-Man. As such, it really is the end of an era. And with that end, I really hope Marvel and Sony use this as an opportunity to wipe the slate clean on how they approach Spider-Man going forward. As good as Holland is in his portrayal of Peter and Spider-Man, he has not been without his critics. The most egregious and off-cited critiques can be surmised as this Spider-Man being more aligned to an Iron Man Jr. I myself have really struggled at times to get fully on board with the MCU Spidey for this reason. It makes sense that a kid like Peter growing up in the MCU would idolize Tony, especially if, like me, you consider the scene in Iron Man 2, you know the one, to be Peter in canon. But with Tony now gone, and this Spidey crossing paths with 2 older and more grounded versions of himself, I really hope this will set the stage for his Spidey maturing beyond his Stark inspiration, towards a more comic-accurate everyman vibe. Less trust fund baby and more down on his luck everyman. This is the niche where Spider-Man works best, and it's no accident that for the better part of 6 decades, Stan Lee and subsequent writers have went out of their way to keep the genius superhero in the most downbeat of circumstances, despite his potential and talent being arguably on par with the likes of the Tony Starks and Hank Pyms of his world. I also hope we see the end of the Stark suits, accounted for in the first trailer alone. I mean, come on, man. I hope there is loss and consequence, and I hope that leads ultimately to what is needed most for this depiction of Spider-Man. What all kids of Peter Parker's age in this film need. Growth.
He's gotta look out for the little guy, right?
You turning me down? You better think about this. Look at that. Look at me. Last chance, yes or no?
No.
Okay. It's kind of a Springsteen-y working class hero vibe that I dig. Happy will take you home. Yeah?
Yeah. Am I waiting in the car? I need a minute.
Thank you, Mr. Stark.
Yes, Mr. Parker. Very well.
See you around.
Well, that's all, folks. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you'd be kind enough to like, comment, share, and subscribe, you'd really help grow this channel. If you've already seen the film, let me know how wrong I was, but do so in a way that's considerate to those who may not have seen the film yet. See you in the next one.